Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid about something having to do with trade in a country, and I straightened it out. But I blew my stack at these people.
Well, it sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela? You suggested...
Is there what?
It sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela?
I thought you said there was a polyp. And I said, I don't want to hear that.
Donald Trump has turned the American economy into a casino, and the House is losing.
Let's talk about what just happened in the Oval Office. Because Donald Trump just wrapped up one of the most chaotic, uncomfortable, and downright bizarre press conferences we've seen from him in a long time. Trump walked in looking visibly strained, sounding hoarse, and reporters immediately asked why he appeared that way. His explanation? He claimed he had just finished yelling at another world leader during what he described as a heated call over trade. But let's be honest, the man didn't look fired up. He looked shaken. And the timing is hard to ignore. Trump has been under enormous pressure all week as questions intensify about the newly surfaced Epstein-related emails, and as the House prepares for a high-stakes vote on whether to release additional Epstein records. Reporters pressed him on that vote, and Trump tried to distance himself completely, insisting he didn't know Epstein. He dismissed the entire topic with irritation, giving short, defensive answers.
I believe that some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party.
Trump then claimed he would sign legislation releasing the Epstein files if it reached his desk, while in the same breath suggesting the whole topic was some kind of hoax. It was classic Trump. Contradict yourself, attack the premise, and then claim you're the one seeking transparency.
I'm for any, I don't, they can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much.
Whatever. Okay. All of this is a stark reversal on an issue that more than any other has seen Trump's own base refuse to go along with him.
This all come down to the Epstein files, and that is shocking. And, you know, I stand with these women.
My people want to know who else, if anyone, did Epstein traffic young women too.
Dogs don't bark at parked cars, and we are winning.
In a social media post on Sunday, the president said the House Oversight Committee could have any documents that they're legally entitled to, and then declared in all caps, quote, "I don't care," end quote. Just 3 days prior, he had said that Republicans focused on Epstein were, quote, "soft and foolish." The House vote is expected to come as soon as tomorrow. Even before the president's flip-flop on this, House Republican leaders were bracing for many of their members to support the bill.
We begin this hour with new MS Now reporting. According to a White House official, President Trump is facing a, quote, losing battle when it comes to the Epstein files. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity to candidly discuss the president's thinking. The official goes on to add that the more Trump publicly involves himself in protesting the release of the files, the worse off he looks. But despite Trump's goal to move on from this controversy, he's showing no signs of shifting, regardless of how Republicans vote on Tuesday. And so far, at least 12 House Republicans have already confirmed they'll vote with Democrats to release the files. This comes as the White House has been on the defensive following House Oversight Democrats releasing never-before-seen emails alleging Trump's ties to the late sex trafficker. Trump has denied any wrongdoing in relation to the Epstein allegations. Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari of Arizona. She serves on the House Oversight Committee that released those emails. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us tonight. What is the whip count that you're expecting on the Epstein vote when it hits the floor of the House? And what's your message to Republicans who are worried politically about their vote because of Donald Trump, but they also have a lot of risk at being seen as protecting sexual predators?
Thank you so much for having me on. You know, I don't think that Republican members of Congress or Donald Trump himself can hide from this any longer. The files that we received from the Epstein estate a couple of days ago, the 23,000 pages, reveal so many more questions and bring about so many more questions when it comes to the relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and why this cover-up is still underway. I personally expect that several dozen Republican members of Congress will ultimately vote on Tuesday and this week to release the Epstein files. I think that the case is very strong in terms of the fact that the truth is that Donald Trump will not be the president in a couple of years, and these Republican members of Congress will not be able to outlast this politically if they don't vote the right way. It's a very clear black and white vote. Are you voting to protect pedophiles and the rich and powerful men who abused children and the financial institutions who enabled this cover-up for decades, or are you going to vote for accountability and justice? So I think the dam is going to break this week, and Donald Trump cannot hide from this any longer.
Let me play for you, if I can, Congresswoman, what your colleague Tom Massey said earlier this morning on ABC. Take a listen.
I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement. But in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then. This vote, the record of this vote, will last longer than Donald Trump's presidency.
So give me your thoughts on how, you know, Republicans are kind of calculating their decisions right now and whether or not they can be protected by Donald Trump over the next 2 years as they face their own political challenges or perhaps their own constituents.
I mean, I think many of them are coming to terms with the fact that they don't really have a good choice here. If they vote to protect pedophiles, it's going to haunt them. It's going to haunt them for the rest of their political careers. Many of the members of the Republican caucus are newer members, younger members. They have, you know, futures ahead of them. And Donald Trump and association with Donald Trump is becoming more toxic by the day. His numbers are underwater on every single issue, from immigration to affordability. And on Epstein, it is, I believe, the lowest at -39, because Americans want the truth and they want justice. And so, you know, I've even seen, footage of Republican members from Arizona who are historically diehard Trumpers saying that they are going to vote to release the files. One of those members is running for governor. He's a diehard MAGA Republican. And of course, he knows that if he votes to protect pedophiles, he's not going to have a shot in the Arizona governor's race. So I think they're being opportunistic, of course. In every other instance, they have, gone along with the president, even if they've said another thing, whether it be on ripping away healthcare or another issue. But I think on this issue, it's going to be particularly tough. And I do think that this is really going to be when MAGA and the rift in MAGA, begins to exacerbate so deeply that they can't really recover from it.
Congresswoman, as you have laid out, it seems like this White House is unlikely to go along with whatever this vote turns out to be, whether that means a veto, a pocket veto, or just refusing to cooperate with the release of these files. What tools do lawmakers such as yourself have available if, in fact, this White House does not cooperate? Or, for that matter, if the president decides to veto or pocket veto the discharge petition, assuming it passes both chambers?
Well, it's an excellent question, and I think one that we're going to have to continue to grapple with. I think the vote this week could be very impactful, especially if the majority of Republicans or enough Republicans vote for it that we kind of pass that veto threshold. The Senate becomes then the next question, right? Does the Senate even take it up or not? There's been different perspectives around that. We also know that any individual senator could continue to bring this issue up with different tools that they have outside of, discharge petition is the tool that we have in the House that seemed unlikely to get to this point months ago, and now here we are. I think the Senate has the same. But here's the thing. The American public is the strongest tool that we have. Americans are demanding accountability and justice on this issue. The victims of Jeffrey Epstein are not giving this up. They just put out a very, very impactful ad that, talks about the pain that they have endured over decades since they were children. And the Oversight Committee is absolutely not giving this up. Oversight Democrats have been at the forefront of this. The subpoena that we issued is the reason why we even got the files from the Epstein estate. It's the reason why there is a subpoena against the Department of Justice to begin with, and we're not backing down. And I'll tell you that ultimately, when we win back the House of Representatives in 2026 and Robert Garcia becomes the chairman of the Oversight Democrats, we are going to have every single person, leader, organization, company who helped enable and perpetrate these crimes come testify before Congress, and we will get the truth for the victims, and people will be held accountable for these crimes.
Congresswoman, can I get your thoughts on the transformation of your colleague, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has, of course, it appears broken up with Donald Trump over the Epstein files, but has also started to separate herself from him, but the rest of her party on other issues like healthcare and foreign policy. How do you read what's happening there, and do you see this transformation as genuine?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I've thought a lot about it, and I've watched her interviews in depth. And I'll start by saying I was not here in Congress during some of the worst of Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Like her going after in using violent rhetoric against many of my Democratic colleagues. I was not here during the January 6th insurrection. I was not here during those times. I watched it from afar, of course. And first, I want to say that I welcome the transformation of Congresswoman Greene, because I think that in this time where we are so polarized and so divided, and as much as our constituents and my constituents in Arizona want me to fight, they also want us to win, and they also want us to get things done for people. And I think without being able to welcome new folks into our coalition and to work together on issues, we're never going to get there. So I appreciated her comment saying that she regrets any violence that she may have incited against other colleagues. I think she has a lot of apologizing to do to very specific members of the Democratic Party, to victims of gun violence and their families who she has previously mocked. I think she has important questions to answer about where she stands, for example, on the results of the 2020 election, which she previously, called fake. And so those questions need to be asked. But I think the fact that she is coming out against the president, against Republicans when it comes to health care, and so fiercely in defense of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, I welcome that, and I hope to see more of that.
Congresswoman, you sit on House Oversight Committee, and $162 billion is being poured into the Department of Homeland Security, and the New York Times has reporting that the focus has shifted so heavily to deportation that there is less of a focus on child exploitation. What are you and your colleagues doing on the House Oversight Committee to make sure that this money is used to actually protect children instead of just building a police state?
Thank you for this question. I could not feel more strongly about the fact that it is an absolute betrayal of Americans that we, in the reconciliation bill that Republicans passed a couple of months ago, gave more than $160 billion to the Department of Homeland Security, including $40 billion to ICE to expand detention center capacity across this country. I've witnessed firsthand, I've gone to the Eloy Detention Center in Arizona 3 times now, and I've spoken with dozens of the detainees who have described to me horrific abuse and mistreatment, and especially lack of access to medical support. I have a constituent in Eloy who has leukemia, who's extremely sick and dying, who I've been advocating for. And that is directly taking away, as you mentioned, from vital services and vital work that this department has done. The Oversight Committee has demanded answers from Kristi Noem. We are conducting shadow hearings in the near future, because we can't get a hearing on these issues with Chairman Comer. So we're conducting our own shadow hearings in American cities across the country to keep the Department of Homeland Security accountable. We now have an ICE tracker on the Oversight website where anyone can submit anonymous information about ICE and what's happening in the community, so we can hold this accountable. And I think ultimately we need to be very clear as Democrats that we are going to hold the leadership at ICE and the Department of Homeland Security and specific employees at ICE who are operating right now with zero accountability. We have to make sure that these people are prosecuted for the crimes that they are committing against people across this country right now.
Higher than hope. The America First doctrine became America Foreclosed. Markets once feared instability, now they expect it. Every tariff, every tantrum, every late-night post shakes investor confidence. Wall Street doesn't trade on fundamentals anymore. It trades on Trump's moods. And those moods are expensive. The deficit, already monstrous, ballooned further after his new round of stimulus for the loyal. Corporate bailouts multiplied while public investment withered. The infrastructure he promised? Still a PowerPoint fantasy. The factories he vowed to reopen? Mostly headlines and handshakes. Economists describe it as stagflation. The public calls it survival. Prices rise, wages stall, and household debt explodes. Trump blames global sabotage and fake economists, but the truth is simple. He's run the economy like his companies, with borrowed money, borrowed time, and borrowed credibility. The collapse isn't sudden. It's slow, invisible, like rot in the foundation. Abroad, investors flee. Allies diversify away from the dollar. BRICS nations move toward an alternative reserve system, weakening America's once unquestioned financial throne. But Trump doesn't see danger. He sees defiance. His response to a crisis is the same as always: threats, tariffs, and televised boasts of strength. It's theater, masking bankruptcy. The tragedy is not just financial, but philosophical. The American dream was built on faith in the future. Now it's pawned to fund the present. Under Trump, prosperity became propaganda, and the dollar a stage prop in a dying act. The empire of debt can't last forever. The question isn't if it fails, but when the audience stops clapping.